What up, Pittsburgh Steelers fans? Matty P here with another episode of Steelers Touching Under. We're talking what everyone else is talking about. Good old Brandon Aiyuk to the Steelers. The 49ers are in there for a trade. The Patriots are in there. And then late in my day in Australia, I'm recording this at about 20 to 10 at night, my time. But late in my day in Australian time, heard the Patriots were out on it, even though they'd sat Kendrick Bourne, had sat out training and all those sorts of things with Mayo, their coach. They're basically sort of saying, look, we've had a chat to him. We're seeing what's happening. And the Browns are apparently in there for a trade with Amari Cooper in the mix. They already obviously got Jerry Jeudy from the Broncos this offseason. They think that that's going to be a weapon with Deshaun Watson. Well, we'll see. I don't think many Steelers fans out there, we all kind of agree that Deshaun Watson's probably had his day. But then, of course, apparently the Steelers were out of the mix. Like when my morning this morning, when I woke up, the end of the US is Wednesday. Then suddenly, the end of the US is Tuesday. Then suddenly they're back in the mix for the US is Wednesday. And so we'll wake up, we'll see what happens. I'm recording this show. Now I probably recorded it. He probably signs. But I wanted to share with you just a few reasons why, for me, it doesn't actually make sense for the Steelers to be trading for Brandon Aiyuk. But more importantly, does it really make sense also for the 49ers to be trading Aiyuk to the Steelers, even if he's got a no-trade clause and he's got that list of people that the teams he gets to approve and he's put in for the Steelers? I still don't think this makes a lot of sense. So let's have a look at why I think that. Just in my humble opinion, I've talked a lot about different reasons this offseason, but I'm going to talk to you about a couple of the things, like more that I see happening. Now on the screen, you've got Brandon Aiyuk there, the Steelers defensive back. I think it's Pat P, actually, off the top of my head on that one. Week 1 last year. Now, first of all, the Steelers have rumored there's a couple of packages going around. There's a smaller package with a second-round pick, and then there's Calvin Austin. Then there's James Daniels and Dan Moore. I'd be surprised if the Steelers did that. That means that they'd have to be pretty high on Spencer Anderson or McCormick, or they've got someone else in mind that can play guard. I don't really see that. Apparently, let's assuming that's the trade package, though. Apparently, and remember, negotiations start with each team giving what they think and the other team firing back. But apparently the 49ers, according to reports, and remember my theme, if you've been listening to the show the last few days, is minimize the speculation. It's under my name here on the screen right now. Minimize the speculation. That's what Mike Tomlin's seeking to do. That's what I'm seeking to do with that theme of our shows this season, minimize the speculation. So, in the theme of minimizing the speculation, because there's a lot of speculation about the Steelers trading for Brandon Aiyuk, apparently, as I said, so the Steelers over that package, and the 49ers came back and said, no, first-round pick and one of George Pickens, and Pat Freiermuth, and I have a mental blank on who was the other person in the mix. But I think it was Najee. But it was definitely those Pickens and Pat, and that's what I wanted to talk about mainly. Why would you? I don't think they definitely want Pickens, and what would Pickens offer the 49ers? Particularly with the way the 49ers run their offense. They've already got Debo, they've already got Juwan Jennings, they've already got Ricky Pearsall. I'm not sure Pickens gives them something there. And they've got Kittle that can make big play catches. Apart from combat catches, I'm not sure really what Pickens is going to do for that team. Secondly, if you trade Pat Freiermuth over to the 49ers, that doesn't make sense for the 49ers, who have Kittle, as I mentioned, that already used Kyle Juszczyk in the pass game as well. If a mental blank on the other tight end that they've got. But also for the Steelers. The Steelers have run so far in training camp, many 2 tight end sets. We know Arthur Smith likes to use the tight end, like whether it was Jonnu Smith when he was at the Titans, and then also last year as well for the 49ers at times. Not for the 49ers, for the Atlanta Falcons. They've got Pruitt. There's a bunch of other tight ends he's used as well. Pat Freiermuth is the only proven receiving tight end on the roster right now. We've seen snippets and a handful of stuff from Connor Haywood. We've seen a little bit from Darnell, but literally two receptions last year. I don't understand. Or maybe it was 7 for 10. Sorry, but we've literally barely double digits from a target and reception perspective. You're not going to move Pat Freiermuth because you're not going to be able to get a tight end of his caliber this part before the season, which then affects the run game that you have, and you end up with this two-dimensional, or maybe if Justin Fields runs a 3-dimensional, but not a 4th or 5-dimensional offense. So it doesn't make sense for an Arthur Smith offense to lose Pat Freiermuth. And as I said, when it comes to the 49ers, they've got Kittle, they've got Juszczyk, Juwan Jennings can do some things, or Juwan Jennings, I should say. Deebo Samuel can do some things in the short mix as well. I don't see the validation of getting Pat Freiermuth for that team. Unless they really think they can do a Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox situation, with the Bills. But even then, I don't really think that makes sense. It's not really where the way the Ravens had it with Mark Andrews, and I think it was Hayden Hurst back in the day. It just doesn't. It doesn't really fit. And if I'm thinking about the 49ers and what they need if they're going to be moving on Brandon Aiyuk, and I've not even gotten to the salary point, which I've said it live when we were on with Mark the other day. I said it live when I was on as well on the weekend. I don't think the Steelers want to pay Aiyuk, but from the Browns' perspective, they've got to really do something. They've got to make this Deshaun Watson thing work out better. You rely on a lot of Chubb. They've drafted a lot of some D-line, some tight ends as well. Moving on to Amari Cooper, who's also on a 1-year deal, that is someone that the 49ers could say legitimately, hey, we get him a bunch of balls. He doesn't have to do everything as a number one of what he's had to do the last few years at the Browns. That seems plug and play. I think, plus, you look at history, the Browns are going to be prepared to give up the most amount of stuff for Aiyuk, which benefits the 49ers. Aiyuk might have his list, which even Washington's apparently out of, but the Browns are going to be able to probably do the most because they're willing to give Deshaun Watson $200 million guaranteed. They might be able to mortgage their future and trade away all those picks. So again, I firmly believe at 10 to 10 at night here in Australia on the 7th of August, just as it's like about to go at 8 a.m. on the East Coast in the US, I do not think the Steelers are going to acquire Aiyuk. It doesn't really make sense. And if they do acquire Aiyuk, I still am not sure how this makes sense, considering the Steelers don't really have the cap space without a quarterback on a long-term deal to sign Aiyuk. Plus, let's say, and Highsmith's injury is meant to only affect him for the rest of the preseason. Let's say it's worse than that. The Steelers are going to need cap to sign someone else that's outside linebacker, even if it's a guy that gets cut or an edge rusher. That's not going to be cheap. So I just think with the Steelers of where they're at, I've documented a bunch of different scenarios on the last two lives I did. I did one a couple of just over 24 hours, 36 hours ago with Marky D. We did joint Steeler Nation Australia one, and I did one before that. I've documented scenarios about why the Steelers can't afford to give away a first round pick, nor should they, because it doesn't make sense at this point. So with that, you let me know in the comments. Are the Steelers grabbing Aiyuk? I know there's a lot of the Steelers fan base out there that want Aiyuk. Or are they not? And they're just going to continue to go forward with what they have, which is personally what I think they should do. They should definitely not be trading Pat Freiermuth with a first-round pick for Brandon Aiyuk. And I don't really see why the Steelers would mortgage and throw away someone like a George Pickens, because it doesn't sell a good message to every other young wide receiver they bring in. And the Steelers like homegrown guys. A lot of wide receivers might not get to a second contract. Deontay's the first guy in years. I think it's the first one since Antonio Brown. But we tried to keep Juju without having to pay out of this world. So Antonio Holmes as well. The Steelers, I just don't think it makes sense for Brandon Aiyuk. As I say, you let me know in the comments. As always, go Steelers.